one nation, under God,
Recording in progress.
with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Yeah. Roll call.
Councilmember Armstrong,
She is excused.
Fallon,
Here.
Farrell. Here. Happy.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Wood.
Here.
Mayor Walker.
Excused.
Oh. Any additions or amendments to the agenda? No. Adoption of the consented agenda?
I would like to move that we set A and B of the consent agenda and move C over to discussion.
A second. Public hearing?
We have to vote on that.
Oh,
Consent- motion to the consent.
Yeah,
motion for the consent agenda?
Second, we need to,
There's no discussion. So you just vote on it.
All in favor?
all right.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes.
C, the first two applications, I don't have any problem with. The third application, they're taking away of parking again. Especially for this event, there was a lot of complaints that I got out of the neighborhood about too much traffic in it. And it's an ongoing problem with them. So for me, I cannot approve it.
Yeah, and they're anticipating about 500, it says too.
Yep.
So, but the first one is
The first one is,
Pacific Crest Trail Days.
yeah,
Where's the date
and
on
that's
it?
the one down in the park. And that's up to the Marine Park and the port to handle.
Mm-hmm.
That's not us.
So that one you're all right
That's
with.
fine. The second one is also,
that's half
yeah, the half marathon, that's down in the port,
Okay.
and that's no problem with that. The second one is, or the third one is the PC Days pre-funk party,
Mm-hmm.
and they're taking out parking for additional drinking area. And so I'm not in favor of that.
But also, we don't control that.
So I don't, for me,
Well,
I vote no on. That's why.
I understand that. But you can't deny the permit because of the.
No,
So if you all voted no, you're denying the permit because of the parking, which is not the purpose of the permission, the permit. So I appreciate the parking issue. We brought it up to begin with. But it's not a reason to deny the permit.
I've attended quite a few of their events and I haven't found that the extra space that they used for a tent or anything to it impacted. I think it was like the last couple ones, it was like 4 spaces, but it's not impacting, they're not encroaching out into the main road, and they're not encroaching over to Brigham's. And then the time, let me see, what do they have the time start at? 10 o'clock.
10 a.m. to 11.
10 a.m. And so that is a big, PCT days are huge income and revenue for all of Cascade blocks. And I think as long as they're not encroaching on other parking that's outside of their scope, I don't have a problem with I don't have a problem with theirs.
Well, they are encroaching on parking outside of their scope because they're encroaching on parking in the neighborhood.
Well, that's kind of a separate issue, because that could be any program or any festival or anything. So that more is a city challenge. I know we've had quite a few individuals from the city come and talk about how it impacts, the extra parking and how they lose parking. I think that is a separate issue than the Thunder Island event. It may cause extra parking challenges, but so do a lot of other. Is there any other?
Really, this is like a courtesy, just to kind of let us know, because even if we say no, that it's not like they have to stop. It's not, you're not gonna be able to stop it, so, but you don't have to be for it.
Right.
That's
You
what
get to vote.
Well, I'm letting you know, I didn't know.
Right. Tammy, you had your hand up.
I was just wondering if Gordon ever got any formal complaints on past.
I have not.
Okay.
And this is on a Thursday night, so that'll limit a little bit of the attendance. Yeah, OLCC, this is a recommendation to OLCC, going to do what they want to do.
Any other discussion? No? We need a motion to,
I motion to approve the OLCC special event application, all three for Thunder Island Brewing.
is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No,
It passes. Now it's public hearing.
We have none.
Thank you. Appointment to committees?
I don't believe we have any of those.
Okay. All right, next one, B, approve resolution 469, adopting a work after retirement policy.
Kathy put together a staff report for you, but we do not have a policy for people like Mary Ann who have retired, but is still working with us until we get a replacement. I am covered by my contract, but she is not, there's no policy. We should have had this in place when Tracy Huff did. We should have had this in place when others have come back. The legislature did pass some Senate Bill 1049, which gives some stipulations, and this policy is in compliance with that state law. So I would encourage you to pass this policy so that we can keep good people working here until we get those.
What's the 6% contribution?
That is first, the city, the staff pays 6% of their income into PERS, the city matches it. When you retire out of PERS, you don't have to pay that 6% anymore. For what Senate Bill 1049 does, because there's a deficit in the total PERS funding, that we're going to take that 6% now. Before, when Tracy Huff left the electrical department, we didn't have to pay PERS anymore for him because we weren't taking it out. Now we have to pay what we would have paid if he was still being employed. To help to decrease the PERS gap. So it doesn't, it used to be a real benefit to the city to have somebody retire and keep them on because our costs went down and everything went up a little bit. It doesn't work that way anymore. So that's what we need to policy to make sure everybody gets what they're supposed to be getting after they retire, but still come back to work for.
Well, one challenge is ethics. And when we have a city administrator who is retired, but not technically till June, and then we have a finance officer who's retired, and then we're writing our own policies. This just doesn't feel ethical. And what I would like to see is maybe a subcommittee or something to really review it. And
We took this right away off. Which
yeah,
we take it
because
off?
I'm not comfortable.
Can I,
Yeah.
may I speak?
Yes, please do.
Okay, I have been working and helping Marianne with payroll, and one of the things that came up is, well, when you retire,
Mhm,
you can still be an employee, but no benefits.
mhm.
Well, we don't have a policy that says anything
right,
So my question, which I think is pretty logical,
right.
how are you an employee, but you don't get to have vacation or sick leave or anything else? That makes no sense. So then I belong to Oregon Association of Municipal Recruiters, which is all the states in Oregon. We have a listserv that we can contact everybody. So I said, hey, we got this issue, we don't have anything in place. Lots of cities have retired employees stay. And I said, you know, can I check out your guys' policy? Because we have nothing. And so I don't think it's right that we can say, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that, we have nothing in black and white. Nothing.
Right, I can understand
So
needing a
I
policy,
contacted the
yeah,
cities, I looked at all of their stuff,
right,
and they have a policy, and this is what they do.
So what you're saying is that you feel like there's a conflict of interest that
right.
Gordon and Mary Ann didn't draft the policy, you got it.
Well, but
Because we have nothing.
Right.
I'm a black and white person, believe me.
I know, and I appreciate that. My only concern is that, you know, yes, we didn't have a policy, but this should have been thought about last year or even before.
You were absolutely
So right now, what I'm saying is this, and this costs money, you know, and then there's some things in here that I don't agree with. Like you can still accrue vacation time and then not be paid out till you're gone.
No, they don't
So-
get paid out.
You know, so no, you don't have to use it. So it's basically, going through this, and trust me, I did some planning and some investigation. I have no people who work for the federal government and everything, and so they can explain things to me. And this is gonna cost the city money. So my first concern is costing the city additional dollars. So that's why I wanted to see a subcommittee and have more discussion on it. Plus, I would really like Mayor Walker to be involved in this. And so that's all I'm saying for now. So this is a big, I know you're shaking your head, so this is a lot, this will impact the city financially.
No,
It's not,
It
it doesn't
does.
at all.
not the
Can
money.
I ask
Yeah.
one more thing?
Mhm.
Ran it through the attorney.
I can respectfully, you know, question the attorney.
Excuse me?
So, I don't,
I'm sorry.
I'm
that
not
doesn't
comfortable
make
with
any
that.
sense.
So,
Well,
I know it doesn't,
I'm
but
just saying the city should
Right.
absolutely have something in place. You are
I
absolutely
agree.
correct.
I
It should have
agree.
been done years ago.
Right.
actually, when
Yeah,
the
right.
First employees stick around.
right,
But we need something in place, or what do you say? I mean, that
I
person
agree.
is still here, so what are you gonna do if you have nothing black and white?
exactly, but I think this really needs some time to be reviewed, I really do. Just some tweaking, I agree 100%, we need a policy, you bet. Should
And I also
have-
think that we'd be in a real tough spot if we don't have somebody to backfill Mary Ann's position and
Right.
she leaves. So we really benefit from her deciding to stick around after she.
Right, absolutely,
I mean, we're not paying her any differently than we would be paying for replacement, so it's
Right.
not costing more than.
but there's specific language in here that I think needs to be reviewed, and I would really like Mayor Walker to have input on it.
What language is it that you saw that you had?
There's quite a bit in there, so.
Is there more than what I'm seeing on this 2-page?
Yeah, so I really think it would be a value to have Mayor Walker's input. So,
Can I ask a question?
Brenda?
So,
There you go.
Kathy, can I ask you a question? If we have absolutely nothing in black and white, then why is Mary Ann not getting benefits? Is what said that we should stop it,
was done before.
but
Is there,
that doesn't seem, I mean, if you have nothing black and white saying that she shouldn't get it, then why are we giving it? She could use that argument.
Well.
If she's an employee, what makes her different than the other employees?
Exactly.
How do you have nothing in black and white? And
Yes.
what was being handled before this
Mhm.
is retired employees, they get zeroed out and then they get nothing, they're just here working.
Because without Mary Ann being here, she said, okay, well, I'm done, you guys aren't gonna treat me right as an employee or whatever, then we would be in a horrible place as a city because no one
I just question whenever she told me that, I question.
Yeah.
Why you're as an employee, that all of a sudden you're at zero and you're only ever working as a wage baker employee, it makes no sense.
And she's working full time, right?
Yes. So
Exactly.
that's when I went looking.
Yeah.
Several other cities, and I thought we should have something in black and white.
We should, and I don't understand, I guess that's where I don't understand, is why did we stop paying her the way we were, if there's nothing saying that we shouldn't pay
Because
her
Mary Ann was operating under the way it had been.
previous,
done before.
even though that's not in writing.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I think this is time sensitive and that we need to move on it and not wait. So I move that we approve resolution number 1469, adopting a work after retirement policy.
I had a couple more questions.
Okay.
If I could do that first.
That's a discussion thing.
Mhm.
We're not gonna talk about it until it's a second. You can't talk, in theory, you can't talk about it until somebody seconds the motion.
Yeah.
So then.
Tammy, did you have, she
I'll
has,
second the motion.
Okay.
Now this is second.
Now we're gonna discuss it.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, so SB 1049 is part of a legislative session that's gonna expire in 2024, the end of
That
2024.
law, yes.
So this is in addition to that? I don't understand. If it's already a law till 2024, why?
That's the PERS, that's the way the PERS is treated. What this policy is trying to do is what about vacation time and sick time? And so
Okay.
the PERS is already state law, and there's nothing we can do about that.
Okay,
And that's what Senate Bill 1049. And they did, there used to be, you could only work 6 months under as a PERS employer, 1,040 hours a year. And draw to be an employee and a PERS retired. This took away that time so that people could stay longer if they wanted to and get their salary and their PERS benefits.
okay, so it's pertaining to that. Okay. And then when it says, does not require the employee's 6% contribution, my question with that was, okay, if no money is having to be spent, by the employee, is the city somehow having to work that?
The 6% was part of their compensation package.
Right.
But we took it out of their payroll. We're still paying the exact same amount that they get the 6%.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
instead of going to PERS, it just goes.
It goes to them.
Okay.
We still have to match the PERS that goes to the state, that the city would put in, because the city put in the same amount, or actually different percentage. In addition to the 6% that we took out of the payroll.
So there's no real change in cost here at all.
Not for PERS.
And the
not for PERS.
sick, and then the sick, not the sick time, vacation time, and the accrued vacation time that's not used to carry over.
Correct.
And
Well, when we retire, you pay out all the vacation time, that's in their last paycheck. The question is, now that they're working for 6 months, we're not gonna give them vacation time, we're not gonna allow them to take some time off. And so we get the same accrual rate that we had before.
But sometimes, like in government positions, they don't get comp time, which they're required to use the comp time before their last
Only
day.
2 of our positions get
So,
comp time. Staff, office
right.
staff does not.
right. All I'm saying, I'm not opposed to having a policy, but I just would like some time, and I know it's time sensitive, and I agree with it. But I would really, really encourage Mayor Walker's input on this, and it's not gonna make a big difference if we wait 2 weeks. That's where I'm at with it.
Any other questions, Tamara?
The vacation thing bothers me. I don't have an issue with someone taking the vacation. I just don't like it being saved up and given out at the end. I,
Well, they earn it, that's paid time off.
it's no different than it is if they're just be paid out of their retirement, and then if they accrue more during their limited duration employment, then it's paid out of termination of employment.
Exactly.
So it's no different than if you hire someone to replace Mary Ann. Does that make sense? That's how I read it.
yeah, I guess I just thought like if you're temporary and you're wanting to retire, why are you taking vacation time? I don't
Just
know.
look, retire, why aren't you just retire?
Yeah. So I'm stuck on that, but,
Well, I can answer that one for me.
yeah,
PERS is going into savings, so that when I do leave, I've got some cash. When you do your PERS retirements, you don't get your PERS benefits for at least 90 days.
Right.
And so you gotta pay the bills for that 90 days. So I'm working for 90 days, so I can pay the bills, and then when everything comes back in. Now, for the city, I'm saying until you get a new guy or gal. I don't want to. And so, but that's one reason to do it, is you're trying to maximize your cash when you retire.
Okay, well, that makes sense. Okay, that's all I got. Thank you.
I just don't see where it's costing the city any money. So I don't understand what the, I mean, I want to know why you have your hesitation. I understand it was 2 week delay, but
Right, because the problem is ethically, is because we've got a city administrator who's retiring, we have a finance officer who has retired, but is still working. And so I just find this hard to take,
Okay,
you
this
know,
is not
so,
telling me,
right,
because I have a contract.
yeah, I know,
But he's
but,
retired already.
right, but this could be used for you as well.
No,
No.
because I have a contract.
He's already
So-
retired, he's under contract. You're gonna do what the contract says.
Right,
Which is,
But I
I
just-
get all the benefits.
all I'm saying, I would love Mayor Walker's input on it, that's all I'm asking. And I think that's fair. So that's where I stand on it. I'm all for a policy, but
Any other questions?
I have questions. So on the first page of the staff report, it says eliminate the limitation of the number of hours retirees can work. Is there a limit?
That was the Senate Bill 1040, we're limited to 6 months only, a full time, 1,040 hours. That 1,040 hour limit is gone. So I can stay longer than 6 months, she can stay longer than 6 months, if we can't find somebody to replace.
seems like a benefit to the city.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We're keeping the employees.
And we're having a hard time finding people just
Yeah.
employment anyway, you know?
right.
And with
It's tough.
and with Mayor Walker being in ICU and all that, like,
There's no guarantee.
there's no guarantee that he's ever gonna have.
I don't think it's gonna hurt us, I don't think it's gonna hurt us to wait 2 weeks. I guess I realize it is time sensitive, but 2 weeks is not going to,
But we do
I mean-
have-
right,
But my thinking is that if we're going to wait, whatever was in writing that said we should stop doing what we were doing. Why did we stop paying the benefits?
right,
Is
Because
that-
that's not in writing either.
Right.
She did because it was done on a previous employee.
right, right. And I just feel like this is, I mean, I understand the urgency of it, but for right this second, I feel like it's being rushed.
Guys, I just wanted to say one thing. Long time ago, I did temping and, which is kind of what Mary Ann's doing because she's retired, but she's temping in. And those people get paid extra money for doing the temping. And if she's getting paid the normal salary, then she should get some of the benefits that go with it, is all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Right,
It's kind of like Mary Ann's willing to help the city out and everything, and we're just kind of not, we're not doing our part, is what I think, because there's nothing in writing that said we should never stop the benefits.
Well, you're an employer, you're not an employee, so.
Exactly. But if
We
we
are-
are treating her different than any other employee, then that's,
right.
I think there's an issue with
But I
that.
just, was this never talked about or thought about?
We have done this.
Like I
for-
said,
I
it
know.
came up when I was helping with the payroll, and I go, what
Right.
do you mean? That makes
Right.
no sense to me. It really makes no sense.
Right,
So then I just went and asked not every other city recorder in Oregon, that's a lot.
Right.
mhm,
And I got all their policies and all that, and this came from the city of Kaiser.
right,
And, talked to our attorney, and he said, we need a policy in place. So, and we are she was retired in December,
Yeah.
right.
we're in February.
Well, exactly, you know, this is, we knew back summer, Mary Ann, you were gonna retire. You know, it's just, it sounds like you guys didn't want aware of, what,
We didn't confront it for a
right,
long time.
right,
So when we confront it, we try and do payroll and it's going, oh.
And it
right,
just didn't make sense to me.
Right.
I'm the one who put the product in there.
right,
It didn't make sense to me, we have nothing in writing.
Yeah.
How are we treating employees? And you can ask anybody that works there, I am black and white.
right.
I
I am
want
too.
everything in black and white.
I agree, and but not, I said in black and white, it says how treat your employee or as city and business, there should not be a question about
Right,
it. It should be fine. Yeah,
right,
Then there's no question, there's no issue, there's no trouble.
right. I agree,
We're
I
following
agree.
rules, we're
But Mayor Walker is completely cognitive of person, place, time. He's got all of his faculties, and I really think he should have input. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so we have-
That's all I'm saying. Mhm.
We have a motion on the floor to approve, right, a second.
Been moving second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay, so 4-1.
Yeah.
Motion carries.
All right, yes.
We do have guests here. Do we want to bring them up first before we talk about this?
Sure.
Okay, first one, we have Karen Davis of County Board. Karen, what's your title?
Hey there,
There's-
I'm the public
what's your
affairs
title?
officer.
For the
I'm
Forest
the
Service.
public affairs officer here in the Columbia River Gorge with the Forest Service.
Okay. We asked the Forest Service to come give us an update on the Eagle Creek fire and how the landscape is changing and what's going on. And Karen has this little, Stan Nasu with the Forest Service is also with us to help us bring us up to date. Can you hear us?
Yeah, it's a little challenging, but I think I heard you well enough that I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So hopefully you guys can see our PowerPoint presentation. So as soon as we get this going, hopefully so it says host disabled attendee screen sharing. Is there any way you can enable that?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Make close.
Okay.
So now you should be able to share your screen. Please, I'm hoping. There we go.
Aha.
All right, so can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, great. So good evening and happy Valentine's Day. So tonight, Stan Hinatsu, who's the recreation staff officer, who probably at least some of, if not most of you know about, you probably know Stan. He's been around for a while. I'm a little newer to the Forest Service and here to the area, but we're here to update you on the Eagle Creek fire. And for those of you who are new to the area, we'd like to give you a background on the fire and steps taken following the fire. So here's a question for you. Do you remember where you were when you first heard about the Eagle Creek fire?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not important to this, but I do as well. And it just so happened I was in Afghanistan at the time, and all my family's from Portland and from the area. So there I was in a war zone, but I was completely devastated about what was happening here at the time. So this fire started around 4 p.m. on September 2nd, which was a hot and busy Saturday. This was also Labor Day weekend. Resources were deployed immediately to determine if this was a new fire start. So some of you may remember that there was a fire that had been going for a while called the Indian Creek fire. So that had been burning for about a month, but these resources quickly confirmed that there was a distinct smoke column. Air resources were deployed and started dropping water within the first hour. And then soon thereafter, they also started dropping retardant. Meanwhile, the Hood River County Sheriff's Office was busy coordinating the rescue of hikers who were trapped between the two fires. And so by nightfall, the hikers had been accounted for and were deemed safe. Also overnight, the fire began cresting the ridge, prompting the evacuation of Cascade Locks in the early morning hours of September 3rd. So within minutes of confirming the new fire start, our fire management officer had ordered an incident management team. This was a very busy time of year, so at the time there were no teams available. But a team that had been headed to a fire in Southern Oregon was redirected here. Calm winds the second day were a mixed blessing. Due to lack of visibility, aviation resources spent most of the day grounded. There was some retardant and water dropped late in the day in order to protect you guys there in Cascade Locks. Resources began arriving at the camp in Odell, which had originally been set up for the Indian Creek fire. This team took command of this incident in the early morning hours of September 4th. The day that many people first became aware of the Eagle Creek fire was September 4th. The fire had made a run of 12 miles in just 14 hours. This photo was taken at dusk as the fire was making that run. That night, it rained ash on Portland, and it also threw an ember across the river, starting the Archer Mountain fire. So sidebar, by September 13th, this additional fire was contained, having burned approximately 260 acres. So note that the fire leapt from ridge to ridge. And it's a well-known fact among firefighters that at night, fires tend to creep downslope. So if you're looking at that photo, you can see both of these phenomenon. So in the end, the Eagle Creek fire burned at nearly 49,000 acres. Level 3 evacuations affected residents in 6 communities, including Cascade Locks, and also residents in Skamania County, Washington. 176 hikers that were trapped on the Eagle Creek Trail were rescued, and some even spent the night outside, but they had been reached by rescuers and had been given supplies, so they were fine that night. Once the following morning, they hiked out at first light, and then they were bused to safety. The Multnomah Falls Lodge closed due to smoke damage and reopened to the public on November 29th. And then the following day, November 30th, the Eagle Creek fire was declared contained. So the map shown here is a soil burn severity map generated by a team of scientists known as BEAR, Burned Area Emergency Response. So the red depicts the severe areas. Yellow is moderate, green is low or unburned. This is based on soil impact, which is related to, but not the same thing as the impacts on trees and understory vegetation. So next, Stan is going to provide more details on the BEAR mitigations completed and go into some specifics on how we reopen Multnomah Falls. He's also going to talk about some of the partnerships and collaborations that came together to help with the trail repair and other efforts to open trails back up to the public. Take it away, Stan.
All right, thanks, Karen. I'd like to answer your question where I was when the Eagle Creek fire started. I was on the Chetco Bar fire down in Southwest Oregon on the Rogue River Siskiyou National Forest with my Type 1 incident management team. And that team that was diverted to the Eagle Creek fire was the team that was supposed to replace us. So we had a pretty long stint down there, 21-day stint, waiting for a team to relieve us. So, and of course, I was having almost hourly phone calls with our FMO because I was so concerned what was going on. This was an interesting fire because at least, 2017, a few years ago, This was a fire that everybody could see, especially those in the Portland metro area who aren't used to seeing this kind of fire behavior. And then of course, what in 2020, we all experienced, not all, but many people experienced those Labor Day fires, which exhibited similar kind of behavior with that east wind, strong east wind pushing it down valley, kind of same sort of situation with the Eagle Creek fire. As Karen mentioned, the bear thing, I'll take a step back. Really, there's 3 phases of recovery following a wildfire. The first one is fire suppression repair. That basically happens before a fire is contained, when we start repairing fire lines, safety zones, drop points, and scarifying, replanting or seeding and that sort of thing, putting water bars in. That happens pretty quickly after the fire is died down. Then there's emergency stabilization through the through burn area emergency response, and then there's the more long-term recovery and restoration. So BEAR really is essentially a rapid assessment of the burn area to identify imminent post-fire threats, that threats to human life, to property, to significant natural and cultural resources. So basically what we're trying to do is identify what those risks are, and what mitigation we can employ before that first rain, before the fall rains come, so that we don't incur any more damage to infrastructure or human life and property after the fire. This BEAR team is made up of all kinds of specialists. So, timber folks, all the way from timber folks to hydrologists to biologists. And in this case, we had a couple of recreation folks, because so many, because of the high density of recreation use and facilities in the area. And they just identified what are the things that we need to take care of quickly, so that we don't incur additional damage after those rains come. Fortunately, this fire burned like most in that mosaic pattern, as Karen mentioned. The 15% was high burn severity, 30% was the moderate, and 55% was low to very low burn severity. So that was good in terms of and that's typically how fires burn as well. It doesn't, this mimics kind of the typical high intensity fire that I've seen here in the Northwest. For one of the first steps the BEAR team does is create the burn intensity map. And then from that burn intensity map, and you can go to the next slide, Karen, from that burn intensity map, you get they develop a debris flow probability map, which again helps us to know where the problem areas will be. And that was the previous slide, I'm sorry. So really the first action that we had to take was to remove hazard trees that threatened the historic highway, that threatened recreation sites, that threatened private property, that threatened the freeway. And you can see in this upper right picture on the slide, that's that area was, I think, where was that? Up at Tooth Rock, I believe. Anyway, so we were actually cutting trees with a helicopter to get those down before they could fall and impact the highway and the freeway. And you also see some work in both in the middle picture of doing some hazard tree falling of a severely burned tree. The other thing that happened and was very intensive was the rockfall mitigation. And some of this was done with the funding that we received through BEAR. Some of this was done through ODOT receiving some emergency funds themselves to scale rocks that after the fire burned through that area, of course, it removed all the vegetation. And so now you have these very raw exposed slopes that were very prone to erosion from both water, water action, erosion from water, and freeze thaw. So the idea was to go on some of these really rocky slopes, cliffs, and do rock scaling to loosen those rocks and get those down before they fell down on their own. And that was pretty extensive. You guys probably remembered all of this work going on around Cascade Locks, and especially to the west, where there's those steep cliffs along the highway and the freeway. We also removed the Eagle Creek suspension bridge because the anchor point for the actual cables, the main cables that hold the bridge up, had been damaged by the fire and actually broke from the heat. So we had to remove the bridge because our concern was that if we got some high water, that it would just take that whole mangled mess downstream and perhaps impact the railroad or the freeway. So that work was done as well. We also did some work around Eagle Creek, around our facilities as well, removing hazard trees and rockfall. Next slide, please. For Multnomah Falls, we also needed to focus on Multnomah Falls, as you probably all know. This is one of the most visited tourist attractions in the Northwest, and we had a concessionaire there. And as you guys probably remember, there was a lot of work of trying to assist businesses that were impacted significantly by the fire. For lost revenue through the tourism piece of it, because obviously the gorge was closed for a bit. So again, most of our first really work was to fall the hazard trees around the lodge and around the plaza area. Then we moved towards doing the rock scaling. Again, similar actions we did along the highway, removed the rocks through rock scaling. Then we had to install these rockfall mitigation fences, and you can see that in the center photo, on the one on the upper center photo is a picture of one of the rockfall mitigation fences that we had to install to protect the lodge and the plaza area from potential rolling rock, because we couldn't rock scale every rock, especially above the lodge, since you know how high those cliffs are. And then we had to move on to repair the Shady Creek Bridge, that wood bridge, or the old wood bridge before the Benson Bridge, the arch bridge. That was totally, well, you can see it was pretty much destroyed by the fire. And so we had to remove that and replace that. And then we started on our trail work throughout. We actually had to prioritize our trail work. And we really had to think about safety and versus, it was kind of a risk assessment that we had to do, given looking at burn severity, looking at what the weather was bringing us, looking at how popular some of these trails are. And so we phased the opening of the trails. We focused on those areas where there was low intensity burn first, tried to get those trails open first. And most of those were around Cascade Locks, like the PCT, the Herman Creek Trail, the Gorge 400 Trail that goes through there. Then we started chinking away at those higher used trails, which had a higher risk rating for us because of the steepness and the potential for rolling rock and debris, and because of the high or moderate intense fires. What we found out in this fire, and I think Karen will mention this later, but as you can imagine, when you burn off all the ground vegetation, and if you remember, a lot of these areas were just covered with moss, and basically that ground vegetation and moss was the glue that held all this cobbly rock that you can see in the picture to your right. That cobbly rock would then just, once all of that vegetation was removed, all of those, we had all kinds of rock falls everywhere. Geologists said that that our slopes were at a higher angle than normal because this cobbly slope but was being held, and so once you remove that, then the slopes wanted to return to a normal angle of repose. So that's why you're seeing so many rock falls and slides throughout the the year and a half after the fire, and we continue to see that occurring today. Okay, next slide. And I'll say that our trail work was a significantly a collaborative effort. And most of the trail work, after we got done with the bear work, all of that mitigation work, the rock fall, the hazard tree falling, the removal of structures that we thought might cause a danger downstream if there was a flood or debris flow, we then moved into that long-term recovery phase, and we received some funding through the disaster bill after the hurricanes. This fire was funded, as well as the Chetco Bar fire, to start doing recovery work. Much of our recovery work wasn't so much around restoration of the landscape. All of our scientists felt like the gorge is going to recover on its own, that we didn't need to do any planting or seeding, but most of our recovery work then focused on repair of our trail systems, of the bridges that were lost. I think we had 120 miles of trails, both on the Mount Hood and the gorge, that were closed or impacted by the fire. We had 8 bridges that were damaged, trail bridges that were destroyed, that we all have since replaced. We've replaced and we've restored about 80% of that 120 miles of trail to date. It took a lot of work, and by volunteers, by mainly Pacific Crest Trail Association, Trail Keepers of Oregon, excuse me, Forest Service crews. We employed a National Park Service crew to help us, a couple of springs, and contract work as well to remove some of the debris and rock slides, and help from our neighbors all came to help reopen these trails. And we had generous donations from some probably from you, up to about $150,000, which we are continuing to use to maintain and reopen trails, because as you know, once we opened them, because again, we lost vegetation, we're seeing more slides along the trail, more down trees, heavier brushing because you've opened up the landscape. So this is going to be ongoing work for another 10 years or so, I suspect, as more trees continue to fall and the like, and as we enter into this phase of 3 years after a fire, the root systems start to decay on trees, and we'll start seeing some additional small slides along our trails. And this was and I think we received, I can't remember, around $2.3 million through the disaster funding to do a lot of trail work, a lot of bridge replacement, and some recreation improvements as well, or repair work in particular at Eagle Creek, where our water system was severely damaged. All right, next slide. And this is just some of the trail work. You can see the change after. Some of these trails, when we walked them and did the assessment, they were so damaged that you couldn't even find the trail anymore. They were either covered with debris or totally washed away or slid away. And again, a lot of work with our volunteer work parties that really helped us out there. Next slide. And then as you know, there was a lot of coordination and cooperation with our county and state agencies in both messaging, working together in opening roads. As you probably could imagine, some of the trails that we work on, as we worked on them, it sent rock down to the historic highway, especially, you know, on the east of or west of Ainsworth. So a lot of coordination with our partners. The historic highway, as you recall, took quite a while to open because of that, because of the continuing rock slides and the rockfall mitigation that they had to install. And we worked very closely with them, with ODOT, with OPRD, and with our county partners in the recovery effort. And we continue to do so. It was sort of interesting. You might say that we had really good relationships with our county and state partners, but the fire really sort of forged our relationship, if you will. It really improved because it galvanized our relationship because of the amount of coordination and cooperation that we had to, that we all had to that had to take place to recover from this effort. All right, Karen, I think that was my last slide, right?
You got this one.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so as you guys probably know, we have gone through a process of opening trails, but we still have an overall forest-wide closure. So basically, we're not allowing any cross-country travel. We do allow, obviously, we have open trails that you can get on, but we're not allowing cross-country travel, and mainly because it's for public safety. We'll be assessing that here this spring to potentially lift that area closure and only keep a few trails closed that I think Karen will go over, because we have not been able to get to those trails and open them. But really, where our concern was about just unstable footing, knocking rocks and boulders down onto a trail if you're off the trail or down onto a road. Obviously, it was still so unstable that the potential for rockfall was still there. Some of the trails, as I mentioned, you couldn't even find anymore, and we didn't want folks to try to wander off and try to figure out where they were going. And as you know, we always have rescues because of that. Fire weakened trees is a big concern, and that cross-country travel was a concern for us as well. And the introduction of invasive weed species too. These invasive weeds tend to like this brand new ground, and so we wanted to eliminate that. But as I mentioned, we will likely reconsider that forest-wide closure this spring as things have settled down since the Eagle Creek fire, 4 years ago now. But more to come on that.
Okay, so I'll take it from here. So what remains closed? So this map, we posted this along with a new forest order in late November of 2021. So you can see those areas, and then I have in bold the trails we're hoping to reopen this year. So yeah, just a little. And then I also have the, you can go on our website and you can see the forest order. You can check out this map if you're ever interested. It's out there for the public to see. And just to reiterate, you know, when there is heavy rainfall and snow in this area, usually what quickly follows is a lot of movement, and the fire exacerbates this due to the increased erosions and dead trees. So by now, if a tree isn't green, then it is considered dead. There are a lot of trees that are dead but still standing. So it's going to take several more years before that root deterioration, coupled with that rain, snow, wind, just all those things that will finally knock these trees down. So it'll be many years. And every time that happens, you have an area more prone to debris and mudslides. Wanted to share a few before and afters of a little more recently. So here's a before, during, and after trail repair on the Eagle Creek Trail. This crib wall repair was completed last year. Those of you who know Nathaniel, he was all over this, and it took him hundreds of man hours to get this completed. But we're very proud of it. Looking pretty robust there. Here's another example on the Waclela, where there was a slump trail repair, and gabions were used for this repair. And then, you know, the ground vegetation has been returning for years now, and it is encouraging to see so much green ground cover. As mentioned before with the trees, what looks dead is dead, and what is alive will likely stay alive. We have partners who are on the lookout for invasives, and as mentioned before, tree roots stabilize the slopes. So as they decay, the likelihood for slides increases. We continue to see more snag falls due to root decay, typically during and following rain and snowstorms. So here's some pictures taken over the past year. The one in the center, that's on the Waclela. That's just an example of one of the many bridges that have been replaced. And it's, yeah, so as Stan said, we were nearly an 80% solution on restoring the trails. And I believe we're finished with bridges. And we like to always foot stomp that it's a huge thanks to our volunteer trail repair partner organizations and to all the partners who support us through donations. So that's a lot of green, looking promising. And this concludes our presentation. Does anyone have any questions for Stan?
Well, thank you, Karen and Stan. We appreciate the update. It's good to know we're recovering.
Well, hopefully that was informative.
Wow, thank you so much.
It was very informative. Thank you. I love the before and during and after, so it's very nice.
Thanks, guys.
Well, and just a quick side note, for those of you who don't know, our new forest supervisor, her name is Donna Mickley, and she actually lives in Cascade Locks, and she definitely would have been here, but she's out of town at the moment. So I'm sure that we'll get her to one of your meetings in the future, and especially when you have other things you want us to tell you about. So with that, do you want us to pull trucks?
Yep.
All right. Thanks everyone for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, my cat is super mad at me. She's like, "You're my Valentine. You're ignoring me. It's past quitting time." So I'm gonna head out. Thanks so much, Stan.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. We also have Emily Reed here from the Columbia Gorge Tourism Alliance, and she's going to talk to us about Columbia Area Transit.
I am, and I sent you a link that might be the easiest, unless you want to plug in, but I do have slides to show you. It's in your email if you want to.
Oh, I don't get emails.
Okay.
So.
Is there a way to plug this in?
What about via Zoom, and then you could share?
I can plug into Zoom and be.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
make you the host.
Okay, thank you.
Just turn your microphone on.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, apologies for this for the second.
Now I can see that flag you're talking about, Brenda.
Yeah, yeah.
Morgan, did you catch the person's name that they said was in Cascade Locks? Donna?
McKinney.
No,
Mickley.
Mickley. Not Mickley. She lives up in the hall.
Okay, thank you.
Your husband and their
Awesome.
dog. Oh,
That's okay. I won't be contacting them.
Now we know how to share a screen.
Yeah, I was thinking, how did we do this? We're used to, used to being on Zoom. So I'm just not going to try. Okay.
Oh, what happened? There you are.
So, hi.
Or
Turn off my video. And then share.
there we are.
Are you on mute? Emily?
I am. So does that work? Excellent.
Ta-da.
A bit of delay there.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
Well, thank you. And is there anybody else? I'll say hi. People. I don't know if they-
The cameras are over.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Excellent. Well, welcome, thank you. This will be very short. I promise you this won't be very long, but I did want to come and introduce you to WordPress. I'm wondering how many of you have heard of it already? Okay. Okay, just the folks anyway. We're very excited about the Gorge Pass. The Gorge Pass is a way to connect the 4 different transit providers in the Gorge with the one annual pass that you can flash and hop on and hop off any of the routes. So you can see the green line is on Sylvania and it comes over to Cascade Locks. It also just was connected all the way to White Salmon to Bingen. And then the orange is the MAX bus, Mount Adams Transport. It goes all the way to Goldendale and then from White Salmon Bingen into the Hood River. So that's a nice connection across the bridge during the week. And then the purple is the Columbia Area Transit, and they go all the way to Portland. And then right now, up until the 1st of April, we go all the way up to Mountain. So this year they've expanded to not only Pinewood Meadows, but Teacup, which is cross country, and all the way to the government camp. So there's a lot of things you can do. One of the best things to do is to hop on and go to the airport where you don't have to park your car and you just transfer that gateway and it's faster than doing the shuttle and leaving your car there on parking. So it's a great deal. It is $40. One of the things that I'll tell you about one of the things that we've been able to do is this is a marketing program through ODOT grant, and it has allowed us to connect all 4, not just through service, but through look and feel, so the rider feels like they're on a piece of the system in the Gorge. And really what we're talking about is the basics for a vibrant transit system that we would love to see have more and more routes, more and more places that you can go. And so that anybody who comes in to visit, for example, leave their car at home, hop on, hop off, and go anywhere in the Gorge in a way that's easy, convenient, and really starts to address those congestion issues that we have. I'm starting to see definitely have. We were talking about earlier. And so that's the goal, is to really take this initial start and structure and really build on it. So the Gorge Pass allows us to do that by selling passes to locals and also into Portland for anyone that comes to visit. So the cost, as I was saying, is $40 for the entire year for an adult and $20 for kids. So again, it's either on your phone where you have it on your phone, you just flash the driver, or there is a physical pass that you flash. So it's super easy to use anytime. The other thing I wanted to talk about just really quick is we built in a few other things. So Portland or Vancouver and all around the gorge, but we also have the monthly trip ideas, the deals, and then an equity fund. So the deals we're excited about. One of the ways that we're doing this is to roll out by town. So how many of you have seen the video that we did for Cascade that featured Bush channel? So, I don't know if Jeremiah is still on here.
It was good. It was really good.
So that's the kind of thing we like to do, is celebrate the town. One of the things that we did during that month, and it continues to live there, is, you know, just showing how easy it is, the times that you can hop on the bus, where you can go from downtown for a hike, where you can go afterwards for, you know, ice cream. So that's the kind of thing that we're really trying to do, is make it a little more interesting for visitors as well. So really starting to make that come alive for them. Okay, and we're gonna see more of this during the summer. We're gonna try to get more and more people out of their cars and onto the bus during the summer, which we suspect may be pretty busy after pent-up demand. The equity fund is the second thing that we've developed, and the equity fund is something that we created that allows us to really highlight and celebrate some of the organizations in our area that have to do with the outdoors equity. So the search and rescue organizations, they will get $1 from every pass. We also want to, we're giving passes to outdoor equity organizations who are getting kids out in the woods, people who aren't normally feeling welcome and safe in the woods, who are already doing that work. We're celebrating them, we're highlighting their work with our social media, and we're giving them passes, and similarly with access for folks under income challenged. So we're doing this in 2 ways: for the $1 pass, and then for employer sales. So when we sell this to an employer, so if you know any employers who could give this to their staff, we will match those. We will actually match a pass for every over 10 passes that an employer buys for their people. We'll match it and give it to these organizations. So that's the way that we're developing that. And what that allows the employers to do is to tap into their sustainability initiatives, their health initiatives. Riding the bus really slows you down, allows us to walk a little bit more, really gets plays into a healthy lifestyle. And then the DEI is also a part of this. We have partners that we like to work with. One of the things I would love to do is add Cascade to this list of logos, so that we can and all it would take is for you to help us spread the word a bit and let folks know that this is this. For you to be able to answer questions, knowing, for example, that we are likely, not solid yet, but just so you know that one of the things we're about to do is add a shuttle over to Dog Mountain during the spring, lots of flowers. So just knowing that that's there, knowing that the bus goes into, that the bus will be like 8 times a day during each day during the summer, and just kind of being able to answer those questions for people, knowing that there's a pass and that people can easily hop on and hop off. So in summary, we have a number of benefits to the rider. If you have a pass owner, it's also good for you. You can grow parking passes. When you ride the bus into Cascade Locks and you go for a hike, you do not have to have a permit. You don't have to, all of the permits in the gorge are about parking. So they're not about actual, they're not about hiking access, they're about the parking and the cars. And so what this really does is start to address that. It's healthier, you get lots of lovely time extra if you go commute, if you go into town, take your laptop and you get almost 2 hours of work. Or but the other thing is that it's really good for our region. This system is really going to make a massive difference into the future. When we look ahead from a tourism point of view and sustainability of our towns, of our economies, and of our beautiful areas, transit is key for being able to have something that's sustainable. And again, if we make it be something that's really feasible, it'll make a big difference to congestion, getting folks spread out, spending money money in town, spending time in town. And, yeah, really just amplifying the good, economy, the good parts of tourism and mitigating the negative effects. That's our goal. So, yeah, the other thing is it really even starts to address some of the other bigger things that we have in this region, for housing, you know, the ability to, you know, to get healthcare for our seniors and really allow that kind of flexibility as well. And again, yes, it first to see their car. So there's a lot of bigger things here. We're in the early days. We would love your support in any and all ways that you can help. And the ways that you can help are if you have a pass, buy a pass, even if you don't need to use it, it actually is a vote for the system and allows us to build onto the system. Help spread the word. If you have an organization and staff, you know, consider buying for the staff as well. Sell your passes on the website, by the way. You can easily just put the link and ask for people to put your name in the organization when they purchase, and you will get a $4 per pass back. So if you put it on the website and you get some sales, and people put Cascade Lock, so you can get some money. Or you can donate directly to the equity fund. So it's pretty simple. That's it. Have any questions?
So who are you?
Okay.
So where do you?
Oh, okay, sorry, I was saying, so my name is Emily Reed. I'm with the Columbia Gorge Tourism Alliance. The Gorge Pass is one of our projects. We also have the other project of I'm trying to think of some examples. We have many because we work with the network to create a 15-year vision that really, like I said, helps the tourism economy work for the region as opposed to overwhelm the region. So we're really working to prevent any tourism. So the other project we have is like network, which is information for folks before they can get. We have an interactive map that tells you which trails and areas are open and which are closed. We work with Stan and Karen closely, as well as all of the other you know, land managers, to make sure that we have the most up-to-date information for all the land. So that's one thing that we can do as well. But it also gives those folks information how not to start fires.
Yeah.
Don't wear your flip-flops, you don't do fireworks.
No, none of that.
And then the other things we do are food trails. So we have a food trail in the east that pulls folks further east, but we've also just started one here in the west, which we're very excited about. So that started last summer. We'll cover more about that this summer. You have all of the food folks that are downtown on that as well. And a number of other projects, but that's, but transit is a huge piece of that.
And then the Columbia Gorge Express.
Yeah.
Is that still going on 26 side too, or is it just through 84?
The Columbia Gorge Express, is the.
Well, I guess it's a Mountain Express.
Mountain Express is the 26th.
Is that part of the Gorge
The
Pass?
goal is to, but it is not.
Is there part of the goal to link up, like, Delaware Transit Center or Transit?
It's to the coast.
Yeah,
It is, so to TriMet, that's already linked up. So we go to the gateway transit station. So from there you can go to all of
yeah, you
them.
go from there out to St. Vincent, Southville, you get
Yes,
the Delaware bus goes to the coast.
yes.
I would think that networking with them and trying to get international travelers to where they know that this is available to them,
Yeah.
coming to the port and the coast, all on the system.
And I'm not sure about COVID, but we are working with TriMet to have a big celebration, probably with the coast and ourselves and downtown Portland, and kicking that off. Because they will allow to do that. So definitely a goal.
Transit vehicles, people with their bikes on them.
They can put their bikes on, and we're also working on getting larger trailers. We need to have even more. So right now, there's at least 3 that you can put on all buses. Some of the larger buses that go during the summer and do more underneath, and then we're working on trailers as well. So absolutely, it's one of the perfect marriages actually, transit and bikes. So you can come out and then Yeah, go all around and come back, but there's also others, there's in the river, and this might be something like, there's a couple of cars that you can, access, like electric cars, once you arrive at the river, you can rent it by the hour and go further and back. Yeah, there's also a wide number of shuttles and, providers in this area, taxi that you can do, so we're really starting, we're wanting that information to be ready at hand, so that you can get lots of places, not just. But that said, this is one of the best trips to have a boat come downtown, go hike, and right from downtown, a couple blocks up, come back. Go to another island and hop back on the bus. Right.
That's a great price.
It's really good. I have questions about with individuals. A question for you about individuals with disabilities.
Yeah,
Are any of the buses, or how are they equipped?
they're all equipped for access, absolutely.
Is the bus lower with the steps, or do they have a
There are different
lift?
ways that you can, there's different ways, but they're all accessible.
So some, they have lifts? I didn't know that.
Some have lifts, some lower, some,
Cool.
but absolutely,
Nice.
yeah, it's important.
It is.
And that's the other thing we're trying to do is really highlight the places you can get off and go for a hike, like an accessible hike.
Do you identify which buses have a lift, like on which route? So if somebody needed a lift and they went from here to.
So there's a 800 number that you can call, and you can ask for each individual. Say, I'm coming, you can ask them. And they will
Okay.
tell you absolutely
Great.
at any point, but most of them do.
Cool.
In fact, they're very few.
Yeah, that's nice.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Now go back to 5C.
Alright, 5C, city administrator recruitment firm. Everyone get a chance to review the four.
And you might know the answer to this, but I have a really fast question.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
The inside page says 10,000, is that 10,000 for the pair, or is that just per person? It doesn't really say, or maybe I didn't see it.
It's just, I believe it's just per person, so, or, because what I understood, the recruitment was for the city administrator.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
So
so
it's
it's
just
just
for-
the all one that said it, there
Right.
are two. Okay,
right.
okay, thank you.
So it looks like we have four different ones. I wish we had a big, maybe we could put that in the budget, a whiteboard. Big whiteboard. So, did everybody have a chance to go over them? The ins and outs, pros and cons, and,
I did one comparison, I'll throw out.
okay,
This one doesn't guarantee if the person leaves.
correct.
Okay, one of these, I can't remember which one's which. One of them guarantees for 2 years, one of them guarantees for one.
Mhm.
So that's one of the things I noticed. I was trying to compare in my head besides the prices.
They all seem to be relatively around the same time frame. There isn't a big difference with that. I compared those. And Jensen talked about a $2 million liability insurance. I didn't see that on others. Did anybody else? We'll just go across, how about if we just kind of go across the highlights? And if anybody has any input? Jensen, it looked like, Jensen. This one, the blue one. It looked like 26,000. Gordon, you might be able to answer this question. On some of them, they say it's gonna be X amount of dollars, but then there's other fees on top of it. Is that right?
There's, generally, it's like 28,000. Then you have to pay for their expenses, their travel time, their publishing time, their, all the rest of that stuff. That's in addition to. the-
Right.
So it's, yeah, together, and it's certainly not to see the total.
Right, right. Jensen, as far as I can see, it looked like they had good references. Looks like most of their recruitment experience, a lot of it, they listed all the Oregon individuals, Hood River's on there, Fairview, Warrenton, Cascade. Looks like some of those, they're currently recruiting those, so they haven't been successful yet. Looks like they were in Hood River, that's good. Scappoose. So looking over all of them, it seems like they all have experience working with smaller communities. So I thought that was a plus. Jensen, and then the LCOG and the WBCP, they went with fancy, all the fancy stuff they had. All three of those provided really good information. I thought, a lot of detail. I like the idea of the insurance, the liability for Jensen. I'm sure it's in there, but I didn't see it on the WBCP. Does anybody have any input on that?
I was just gonna say, just because it's not listed there doesn't mean that they don't have it.
Right. As far as like, it's possible, I mean, their teams that they have listed, their teams seem to be very qualified. They don't have any problem with the teams. The LCOG, this one. So I highlighted it. Gordon, I have one question, is how did you pick just these recruiter companies?
We sent them to all the recruiter companies we could find, every two or 4 days.
Okay, thank you.
In fact, we didn't send it to Elcott, we saw the land council governments. They said, oh, we do that.
Okay.
The League of Oregon Cities no longer does recruitment. They used to. But then they bundled them really badly. We're not.
Who is that?
So, like, the League of Oregon Cities.
Fingerboard.
And they did outline, the LCOG, they did outline, 4 months very clearly what they're going to do. I believe they did background checks as well. Highlighted, I had some questions, so. Like over the past 10 years, I'd be better if I had my glasses on. There you go. They did the recruitment of 9 different Oregon City administrators, managers, 1 county administrator. And once again, they were all independents. That's a really strong community city down there. They've got a lot of good stuff. Hood River. But the thing is, it says recruitment team has been involved in or is led to. So it didn't, they weren't I don't know what their involvement was. That was my question. So.
I worked with Elcott when I was at previous when I left. So they've done a lot of good work in there. Brendan Wilson, who's running it now, very, very good. I worked with Barry Jensen. He's a former city manager himself, so he knows what it's like. Paul was a former city manager. The WCBG group, I've never worked with, they're out of Southern Oregon. And they come up to, they're gonna charge you a lot for mileage, because they're coming up from.
That was kind of Yeah, right. Yeah, great brochures, but I thought it might be a little on the spending side. But I like their qualifications, and it looks like they do quite a bit of business, and, you know, the bulk of it in California.
We just did a successful recruitment for the city.
That's good. That's good. They did Jackson, Oregon. Independence, once again. Gold Hill.
Off topic, but kind of on topic.
Mhm.
Kathy was asking for a whiteboard in here. That's something we could have, not for right now, but just like.
I would love one. I'm very visual.
Yeah, me too. I'm having a hard time kind of.
Right.
Mhm.
Here's my graphs, you know?
That's a difficult goal.
But
Nobody's ever asked for it.
I'll second that whiteboard, big one.
I got a big wood easel you can have.
No,
So as
so,
far as guarantees, like if, you know, doesn't work out and anyone will retain the person that's recruited, who offered any sort of guarantee or warranty on that?
so it looks like.
I didn't see it in that one, yeah, it said it very explicitly that there is nothing on these two do.
Yeah, Jensen does. I don't think
I didn't see much, I mean, is this all we got from this one?
yeah,
He was the interim manager.
I see.
He's the one that ran. Work for the court, work for the city. Any question?
Using Gresham, you said?
I like the other one of the, I would prefer to go with one of the other three, just with the professional background, liability insurance, and their experience. So quite a bit broader. So.
I just don't know much about this, you know, is he by himself, is he, you know, what kind of a team does he have? No. Yeah.
He is, I don't know about currently, but he's been really involved in the community of Cascade Logs and with Ford and all that. He is definitely a face that would, most businesses and people that are hanging out downtown would know. And he did do the interim city administrator before and the port commissioner job as well, or the general manager too. So.
Well, thanks, that's helpful, because I mean, I didn't, just going on with this, I didn't know, you know.
Yeah, he really does try to do a lot for the community without even being paid. So to say, yeah, he definitely has a face with a lot of people that live here.
Business code, I'd like to go with someone who's licensed, bonded, insured. This is what they do. This is what they do for a living.
I don't know that if he is or not, is he?
I don't know. The proposal is pretty short,
Yeah.
so.
I don't know that he's not, because he definitely has a business.
He sent that in.
Right.
Set out the criteria.
Yeah.
The thing is too, is that he is active in the community and he knows a lot of people here, but we're trying to find someone out of the community. I mean, most likely, our next city administrator, most likely is not Amy Cascade Lots. And so I kind of navigate towards one of the other ones that knows how to reach out and grab from out of the area.
His did say that it was for both positions,
Yeah.
but these ones are only for the city
Correct.
administrator.
Correct. Yes. And it might not be a bad idea, and, you know, Mary Ann's working super hard and, you know, she's not looking at me, but, that it would be nice, I mean, ideally, whoever the new administrator is, if we can't find a qualified applicant for Mary Ann, it would be great if the new administrator could actually be involved in hiring that individual, because those are two really key positions and they've got to work well together.
So really, in your opinion, it seems like it's more important to fill the city administrator
Right.
position, and then
Right.
how long is Mary Ann?
I don't know, Marianne, we're talking about you, Marianne.
I get you.
So.
We don't treat her very good, I wouldn't say very well at all.
Well, I mean, and that's, I mean, our hope would be, but I mean, it's not, it's understandable as well. So, and I think that's a whole nother, you know, topic is like, where are we advertising and everything like that for Marion's position? How aggressive have we been? So, but right now the topic is just for the city administrator.
And then how long is Gordon in, because you said you're in retirement now, but then you have a contract that.
I will be happy to work for 1 week after the new employee starts.
So you're working as long as it takes to.
Just to help you guys out.
But his contract does not end until June.
So at the end of June, 1st of June, end of June, okay.
But
So-
or June 30th or 1 week after the guy starts, whatever is later.
Whatever it is, okay. So, but, I mean, that was one thought I had. So, because there are two, I mean, every position is really important at the city, every single one of them. It helps it so much nicer if you have a team that you both get along, you're familiar with. And I would imagine the new city administrator would like input if we can't find anybody for Mary Ann's position, which she has a really tough position to fill. So sometimes too, when spending money, I try to find a balance. Sometimes it's you get what you pay for. But sometimes if you spend a little bit more, then you're going to be happy over the long run. It's very expensive to hire an employee and have them not work out. Very, very expensive and costly. So even though a recruiting firm would guarantee some of them to say, yes, we'll do it again. We'll have a little bit more expensive, but we'll do it again. But the whole point is to find really good, strong candidates. And so hopefully out of the gates, they're going to do it well and correctly.
This is, Jensen Strategy says is they're the only private Oregon firm that specializes in executive recruitment for city and local governments. But WBCP, they're from Southern Oregon. Are they not a private organization?
I think they're private.
Remember, they're marketing themselves.
Oh, yeah. Well, they have great swag. Love it.
Yes.
But that's not everything, you know, so.
Well, I will tell you, my 30-year experience, no brochure.
That's what I thought. So this is not a rat cart in a, where you go to eat.
Yeah,
But
so
they're great.
how did you end up here, Gordon?
And you were here, all were good.
I've been involved for 24 years.
And prior to coming here? I mean, but I mean, before you came to this position and your last position, how did you get into that position?
And generally, you work at the leading Oregon cities, and you look at their website, and it's all over the district of what positions are open. I interviewed when I left Big City, not under my own, was pushed out. I interviewed with, I think it was 9 cities around the Northwest before I got the next job. So it's just what's open at the time. There's all kinds of, all these people have firms or websites to see what they're recruiting for. Oregon City County Managers Association keeps a list of what's out for open.
So it seems like when you weren't recruited through a headhunting company. You went out and found these.
Paul was running a recruitment for the city at the time. And I was looking for a job, and I happened to get where was I? I was interviewing, I can't remember where. When I came through town, and I called Paul, and he said, well, come in and talk to me. So I came and talked to him, and said, hey, we could use it. Submitted my application, and 7 months later, they hired me. It was a long process.
Yeah. And if you were, I mean, we're looking for somebody to replace you and you've got to work until we find someone to replace you. Who do you think is going to be the best?
I'm sorry, I'm not going to
You
make.
can't,
Good try.
I'm not gonna give you any kind of opportunity to blame me for the next time. I will say, I have worked with Eric Jensen at Jensen Strategies. I have worked with Brenda Wilson at Elcom. I've worked with Paul. In fact, he and I are talking about working together after I retire. Joining this firm. And I have not worked with WGB, whatever they are. I have never heard of them before. Because they're mostly on the
Got it. Before when we talked, I mean, it seemed like you were kind of leaning towards LCOG.
I'm happy with any one of them. But I know the people that will talk a little better than I know Eric Jensen. So they're both reputable. We actually use LCOG, the Local Government Personnel Institute is where our labor attorney is. So I work with them fairly closely. But again, any one of them will do a good job for you. Paul will not do the flashy, big marketing campaign. The others will.
Yeah.
But again, flashy, big marketing campaigns.
But then sometimes,
Yeah.
you get what you pay for sometimes, and
Yeah, well,
if you're
that's
trying to
true.
save some money, and
There's no question.
I'm all about saving money. But I'm also about doing it well the first time. That's where I'm at.
Well, I think Elcog's gonna be running the recruitment for the place I left again, because they're the last city manager just quit. So, I mean, they've got experience in small towns.
I know, like the ECP, that one, they're 24, but then their fees are up to 7,500 of the traveling fees. That's up to that. Jensen is 26, which is 2,000 more, but they're also, they're closer. It balances out because their estimated expenses for recruitment estimated at 5,000.
Because they're coming from Portland.
Right. I like that. Plus any outstated candidate travel, lodging, if relevant, it says. So cost wise, I've read this front and back and sideways, and I tend to lean towards Jensen. I like the guarantee after the year. I do like that. And they do, I like their experience hiring city managers. But open to any discussion whatsoever.
All right, I'll start.
Go for it.
Prettiness wise, this one gets the award. I see a lot of costs being added to that one though, because they're into the flash. Cascade Locks is really, I mean, I know we're increasing with our tourism, but we're not flash like Hood River or Portland. So I lean towards this one. I know they don't have a guarantee. They've been around since 1945. I'm one of those people that like businesses that have been around for a while, means that they're doing something right.
Right.
Yeah. Eugene, I mean, they're around areas that have small towns. Even though we're really close to Portland and in kind of in the middle of that, I feel that they would be able to grasp what would draw somebody to a small town. That's my 2 cents.
Okay. Pete, any thoughts?
Well, yeah, I guess the thing that gives me some hesitation here is the lack of any sort of guarantee that, if we lose this person, what we've been. I like the fact that Paul's help with other boards is a good example. I mean, I'm flashy that really we're trying to hire someone to get us results, but I don't really know, is he gonna do anything for us if the person that we find doesn't stick around either? And seems like these folks have worked with, Jensen's worked with, Fairview and the river. They know our area, they know what makes it special. But Gordon said, we go with any of them, we're gonna.
Right.
But yeah, I think I threw this one out.
Yeah, the WCP, yeah, that one I did as well.
Just a comment about, if we were finding a member of the International City Managers Association, their ethics say you stay for 2 years. So the guarantee is kind of if it's an ICA, an A member, which I was, I'm committed to you to 2 years anyway.
So that really doesn't matter. Okay, thank you, that's very helpful. Yeah.
If they're not an ICA member, then you make them join the ICMA and they sign, when they join, they sign the ethics.
Taken care of, yeah. And then what was the price then for Jensen versus Alcott?
Alcott is 10,000 and Jensen is
26.
26 plus the.
Plus the expenses.
And that was 10,000 cap?
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed.
I'm
So I like that.
I'm
I
going
like
with
that a
this.
lot. Yeah. Okay. Butch, thoughts?
I'm not impressed with any of them. The only one I would have selected was Paul, but his price is up there too high. And my original idea of recruiting a couple of our local people that are talented and know the city and what we need, I think we could have gotten for much less. But we never explored that, so.
Have you reached out to anybody?
Oh, yeah, I talked to a couple of them, that they would. But,
That's cool. I didn't realize that we had anybody here in town that would be
oh, we
interested.
got a lot of people in this town that are talented and are in government. So.
So who are you talking about, Butch?
Hmm?
Are you talking about somebody to run the recruitment process?
Yeah, to help us find somebody.
Well, I think to Tammy's point, I mean, I would like to see someone outside of Cascade Locks.
I don't think he's saying somebody from Cascade Locks to fill Gordon's spot, it was somebody from Cascade Locks to help with the recruitment or something.
Yeah, thank you. I was confused on that.
Right.
Well,
Yeah. Okay. But your vote is, you don't like any of them?
no,
Okay.
I think we could have done better and got it cheaper by doing some local people and save the money and buy ourselves a radar trailer.
Well, we're kind of under the gun right now. Here's February.
And the city put it out for RFP, these are
Yeah.
the people that came back to us.
So,
Right.
but the thing is, we didn't entertain going after the local people first, which we should have done.
Brenda?
I think that, I'm kind of in agreement, like someone that's been in business since 1940s and the lesser of the price, 40 sounds good. I also don't want to like, did you say that this was put out before we ever put anything out? So he didn't get a chance to put a packet together. He saw it, so, but, I don't know, I just think it's all just a lot of money. And I am the same belief too, is that you do the job and you do it right. And it's black and white and follow rules and all of that. So.
And $10,000 is like 1 month of salary.
Right.
For the position. You know, it's
Right.
the potential cost saving is that we would
Yeah.
potentially see by having a great person filling Gordon's spot.
And I-
We've already budgeted for it.
Yeah.
What's in the budget?
I don't necessarily feel like our next city administrator should not live in Cascade Lodge, because I do see problems with that, because you're here 5 days a week and we've got weather conditions, and if you're from out of Portland and the highway's closed, then we're gonna pay a city administrator not to be here, so I think we should think about that too, because we do have weather conditions and different things that do, make it hard to travel and stuff, so. I don't know, I'm kind of like Butch, I'm not impressed with any of them, but if I had to pick one, it would probably be, this one.
I think that's part of the interview process about, whether they choose to live. I mean, most people, they
You're willing to
don't,
relocate if you're.
right, they only relocate when they get hired. And,
So that'll be probably part of this process,
Right.
we're working with recruiters, is that important to us?
Right.
Here.
So,
right.
so most city manager contracts require residence.
Mhm.
However, where you live does not impact your ability to do the jobs. And the courts have found that is the most easily overturned clause in a city manager contract.
Mhm.
Is the residency?
Is the residency.
Mhm. But once again, that's a part of the interview process. That's when the recruiter company talks to each council member that what's important to you, and then they package everything together. They did have the LCOG, it was a nice outline, month by month, what they were gonna do next. I like the not to exceed. So that was a plus for me.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
And they do the background checks, they do, all the costs include, outlined above, travel expenses, advertising, background, administrative support. Any other thoughts or?
No, I'm good, I'm good.
No?
Yeah.
Any final comments or?
Nope.
So it looks like, would it be fair to say, because the two we most talked about were Jensen or the LCOG, right? So. Now what? Somebody makes a motion.
How do you make a motion? All
All
right.
Okay, I would like to want a motion to.
I would like to make a motion to
Select the city administrator recruitment firm.
select the city administrator recruitment.
Good job.
Which one?
I'm going for Elcott.
All right. Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Same.
Okay.
Abstention. There's no conflict. You gotta go one way or the other.
You can abstain.
I'm not impressed by anything. I had a different way I would have gone. You guys don't know.
All righty. All right, motions.
I appreciate it.
Motion is passed. Looks like LCOG. LCOG it is. Can you let all these to thank them for their, yeah. They put some really nice presentations together. All right. City administrator, some of them report.
Thank you. Yeah, one page tonight. I don't know what's going on. In your packet was the note part, the statement of economic interest filer. All of you as members of the city council will be required to file. If you have any questions, call Mary Ann. Kathy.
I don't do that one.
And then
Not this Kathy.
Hey, Gordon, on that, it says in the instructions, we should get an email.
You will get one.
So that will go to our city councilor email.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And you guys, most of you did it last year, well, Brenda didn't. But they want to know your sources of income, if you have any conflicts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I did do it.
Yeah.
You have to do this every year?
Every year.
Oh, alright.
I did it.
Yeah. Butch did it when he was on the planning commission. Well, you were only on the planning commission for like a month. Okay. So anyway, that's, be aware of that. It has to be filed by April 1st.
April 1st or the 15th?
Yeah, 15th, you're right.
No, bother you.
All right.
They'll remind you.
Don't miss it.
If you don't do it by that, they might. Yeah. Small City Alignment Advisory Committee, which has indicated an interest in being on that committee.
If nobody else.
If nobody else. You don't have to.
I thought it was a really, I'd love to be involved in that, but I just don't have the time to be able to do it. So it'd be great to have somebody local part of that.
If you're interested, the application was sent, I sent to all of you on the email. Even if you apply, it doesn't guarantee that you'll be selected. Anyway, that's what's going on. The Forest Lane Bridge closing, I think they're going to start tomorrow morning to close on that. If the governor lifts the mask mandate on or before March 31st, we can take our mask off in April. City council meetings, like to share this on Facebook, and that is it. Sorry. More.
Good. Is there anything about the snowplow thing or?
Well, we talked about that last time. It's, you know, it was an anomaly, 26 inches in 9 hours, except for the 98 inches in January of 1949.
I was gonna ask about picking up the rock.
We're working on that. We started today.
So I was, yeah, so the intention is not necessarily to leave it on the ground until the end, you know, it's to try to pick it up.
We try to pick it up, but the county brings in their street sweeper. And we're subject to whatever they can get. You know, winter's not over.
I think they sometimes wait till you.
I was just afraid you were gonna say, oh, we're gonna wait till April, because we get snow in March.
Right, snow on top of the mountain today.
Yeah,
It's
whatever.
fine, yeah.
But it's a real slip and fall hazard.
Yeah.
And Buster Winchell.
Yeah, I cleaned up, or I didn't clean it. We had a person that needed to do some community service who cleaned up around the church.
Yeah.
And got it and put it in to fill up the washout from drainage along our driveways.
You stole our rock?
Huh? We just moved it over.
Acquired. Brenda, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I just want to thank, city staff for, putting the packets together and all the information. I wanted to see if we have a timeline or what's going on with Dry Creek.
The engineering is in process.
It's in process, okay.
And when the engineering is then completed, then we will actually approach probably Chris Line in the Dalles, which has done our water project, and ask them to do the whole project.
Okay, so I know engineering, what typically, I mean, what kind of timeline do you think we're looking at? Are we gonna have these people taken care of within months or?
It'll be this spring. We'll have done this by I would say the next 2 or 3 months. I don't know the actual extent of the project right now because we're still designing the pump and then we have to come in and do the replacement of the plumbing all the way to the house. But the engineer is aware.
And then also would like to remind the citizens of Cascade Blocks that we'll be doing our 30th annual community-wide garage sale event, April 22nd through 24th, 9 to 5. You can choose to do one day, all days, but whatever you do choose on the form, please stand by it, because we get so many people that come from everywhere. I've never seen anything like it. They come from Yakima, St. Helens, Scappoose, they come from everywhere for this event. And for people not to be open, we will lose people coming, and it's a really good event that we got going. So whatever you sign up for, please do. The box would come to City Hall and the forms to fill out, and it's a $6 cash. And that provides you with the flag in your yard, being on the map, all your advertising, and just a ton of fun. And you get to see me before and after. I mean, who doesn't want to see me? So that will, and then I think right after that, the city will be doing like where we can, whatever excess or whatever, so people can clean up and get their places looking.
What's the deadline to apply for that?
I believe we put on the website April 15th.
Do you remember?
What's this event?
It's a citywide community garage sale or yard sale, and last year, I believe, don't quote me on it, but I think we had 27 houses that did it, and we have a map and
Rob does it every year and he's like, I do well at it.
it is really good. It is really good. If you guys stuff you want to get rid of that,
That's the weekend to do it.
There's so many people from everywhere.
This is not city sponsored.
No.
It's Brenda's taken.
So your $6 fee, that's like an administrative fee?
It helps me replace the flags, because, you know, I have to go out and buy new sticks,
Right.
if people don't return, they don't have them, or the flags tear up,
Right, right.
or the mats, you have to print
Right.
that, you know, there's printing
Right.
fees and all that, so there's no money made off of it, all my time is free.
Thank you for ordering.
And then, I have a lady that, started helping me do the maps, so they look really nice, and,
Nice.
it's a really good event, and then I get the port to put our banner up at the end of town and all that, so it's a big community
Cool.
event. I think that's all I have.
Keep stuff from going to landfill.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So Pete, at the end, each counselor goes by, just has parting comments. Butch?
Yeah, the church is gonna join the garage sale this year.
Oh, good.
In fact, we're gonna look to rent out a few tables, get more people into it.
Good.
There's my work with the Energy Council. There's a bunch of grants that are coming down the road here in the near future that we may be interested, or we should be looking at. There's a RAISE grant, which is Rebuilding American Infrastructure, Sustainability and Equitable grant. There's a Safe Streets and Roads for All grant, a Charging and Fueling Infrastructure grant, and a Rural Service Transportation grant. And some are self-explanatory, but maybe to help rebuild Forest Lane and put some bike paths on it, that maybe one of these grants could be used for it. So that's something we should probably look at. I'd like to thank staff for all their hard work for us. And a sad note, but longtime resident Pete Carr,
Yeah.
who's been here, passed away this last week.
Oh,
And his wife Shirley passed away earlier last year. And Pete and Shirley have been married 70 years.
Wow.
And they were part of the Lions Club and did a lot of community events and stuff. And we'll miss that couple in this town. That's it.
thank you. Pete?
I just wanted to again thank city staff for their packets and all the work that goes into getting this meeting together. But I thought Kathy deserves some accolades, kudos for bringing up the issue of work after retirement policy, and that is definitely something that probably key to it, because of the fact that we got people that are in that position. But I really appreciate there's people out there doing some homework to try to find some policy. So that's great.
All right, thank you. Tammy?
A couple of things, I hope everyone had a chance to read the tourism notes because it was a smile on my face, they're working hard. Question on that though, what's the boutique hotel?
Boutique hotel is specifically aimed at a given niche market, in this case, weddings. Come, you're married here, do your honeymoon here, and it's a little, it's not a motel, it's a specialized cutesy,
Do for.
Not a chain,
not a.
not a
Oh,
chain.
They
It's
may
also
be,
not been approved.
yeah, they may be a spa hotel, you know, you come in, you do the day spa and everything like that. The Avalon Hotel in Portland is a boutique hotel. They don't have multiple, you know, they're not 100, 200 unit hotel, they're usually like about 20 room.
Yeah,
That's it.
okay, interesting, okay.
Question.
What else? I saw the, that the Alzheimer's picnic might be September 3rd was, written and someone announced on the scholarship page that they were planning it.
No.
Scholarship, that's our alumni association.
Oh, it's a different one.
Yeah.
The alumni association.
Okay,
They're-
okay, so has Alzheimer's have
The
they?
port gave away the pavilion for a wedding, which was the day that usually have the old timers at next. They did offer us a tent and stuff, but you know, because of weather conditions, if it's too hot, the tent's not gonna work. And as far as it goes right now, there is no old timers picnic this year,
Okay.
unless somebody else picks it up.
I'll let you talk about the Easter
Easter egg.
and barbecue. The only other thing I had written down was, if, I was just wondering about the sailing that we had here in Cascade Locks, and I heard rumors that they decided to go with Stevenson and left us.
Which, say cruise?
The organization, sailing organization.
Oh, no, they're here.
No,
Okay.
We're doing 6 major events this year.
Okay.
World Cup.
yeah, an international event.
All right, okay, good to know, okay.
Now, one of the cruise lines may not dock here anymore, they may dock at Stevenson, I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe that's what it was.
Okay, that's it, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you to city staff first and foremost. I mean, I know how hard everybody works and certainly appreciate all my paper and my packets for everyone. It's amazing. I just like thank you to the presentation, the Eagle Creek presentation. It was really informative. It was well done. I like seeing the pictures, and I did not live out here at that time. I just heard about it, and to see that one photo where the whole mountain was on fire, it was really impactful. It kind of made me gasp a little bit. Gorge Pass. Yeah, I've heard all the stories. Yes, I was just like, oh, I purchased right after that. Gorge Pass, thank you for Emily for presenting. I thought that was really well done. And then to the port as well. I mean, I looked at their schedule and it looks like thank you so much. You guys are just bringing in business like crazy, and it looks like they're booked solid, I think, through the summer, darn near, with weddings, and so I thought that was really good. John wanted me to remind everybody February 16th, which is a Wednesday, at Thunder Island from 6 to 9 p.m. It's a fundraiser for the fire department, and they're gonna have 50-50 raffle. We're gonna have door prizes. He's gonna have information. You can get free smoke detectors that were donated from, where was it? The Oregon State Fire Marshal's office. So you can come and just get a free smoke detector. So remind everybody about that. April 16th, the port, the port and the state were talking about doing an egg hunt. We did one last year. Tammy, I just stuffed eggs and donated eggs, but I didn't attend, but Tammy we were the egg steppers last year. And so Tammy attended, and they would like to do it again this year, and then probably get it on, if we're asking for funds for the egg hunt, to get it on next city council meeting, but right now, it looks like April 16th, and wanted to know, as a city, we could joint venture with the port. And hopefully there isn't any challenges to that. Let me see. What
Well,
else?
Easter is April 17th.
What's that?
Yeah,
Is
they
it the
wanted it on
17th?
Saturday, no, but they wanted it on Saturday, not to conflict with people going to church and so,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Oh, okay,
So
so
last
16th.
year it was on Easter, and this year the court wants to do it on Saturday.
Okay.
What time did you have this?
I can't remember.
I don't think they've gotten that far.
We were just trying to figure out, first of all, if the city and the port can collaborate, work together, have a egg hunt. We do have funds. Do you know how many funds we have left? We should have quite a bit in our account. Yeah.
Businesses.
Right.
Why is the city
Right.
giving money to
Yeah.
businesses to?
No, this is a city and port sponsored egg hunt.
City is not sponsored.
No?
We have, why would the city sponsor an egg hunt?
For community involvement.
For
Well,
community
so
involvement.
community involvement, not- if somebody wants to do it like Tamara, you want,
Right.
you want to come to the city and say, hey, we got so much funds,
Right.
and you bring that to the city council.
Right,
You can allocate some of the community, we have funding,
right, we do.
but it's not a city sponsor.
Right.
That's not our job.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to come up with ways where the city can be partner with the port and the city to be more involved with the community and kids and,
Again,
yeah,
we're not recreationists.
Right.
We have a goal, we can sponsor those kind of things. but
Right.
Organizations need to come to the city and say,
Yeah.
this is what we're doing, this is the budget, this is what we would like. to
but you
do.
said we could sponsor it. The city
No,
could
no,
sponsor.
the city does not sponsor, that's not where,
Okay.
we're water, wastewater, streets, power, economic.
Right,
And so, but again, you're the council, and you can choose how you spend the money, but that's.
right,
If it's.
Right.
It's like the citywide garage sale is not as, it's a city community event to bring everything together, but it does not have anything to do with the town of the city of Cascade law. That's why we have the $6 fee and, because it funds itself. But if I needed, like one time I did come to council, and I needed some extra money, I came to council and was able to get some money to use toward it, but it wasn't sponsored by the city. If that makes sense.
So then if Tammy and I spent money on egg supplies, we could come to the city council and ask for reimbursement.
I would come before you.
Yeah, well, right,
Yeah, because I didn't.
Yeah.
right, that was a lot of money last year, so,
You're asking the city for a grant.
Yeah,
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 it's a program.
yeah.
All right, so it would be nice, though, I do like to see both logos on community events, port, city, together in this event. Okay, and then also, talk about with the port about, partnering with the port and doing the meet and greet again this year. They're open to that. I know last year we said it would be 1,000 to 1,500. We came in right at 1,000. We had almost 100 people there, 97 to 100, I was off a couple, but it went really well. The survey went well. Feedback was really positive. A lot of people seemed happy. They liked the aspect of everything. Would like to do that again. So in the port, we don't, but I wanted, before there was any dates, but I wanted to make sure, Butch, that we talked about the old timers to make sure there wasn't any conflict with any other dates.
It's been killed. So as far as I know, it's not even happening.
Okay. Okay. So we can get that on to vote about how much we can spend again.
for,
for the meet and greet, community picnic. Yes.
make a motion.
Can I make a motion to put that on for our next city council meeting?
Make a motion about how much you want to spend. It's,
I don't think I'm prepared to make a motion on what we would spend on meet and greet, without. I think I would need more information. I don't want to sign a blank check.
No, that's what I'm saying, that's what we did last year, we said it would be up to 1,500, we stayed within budget, I spent 1,000. And, the port spent 1,000, we spent 1,000, this year,
so $2,000 to feed 100 people.
Do we need a meet and greet every year?
$2,000 for.
what, I didn't hear you, but
Do
what?
we need a meet and greet every year?
Well, according to the feedback of everyone who attended the picnic, there was not one unhappy person. Every person was excited, the kids were excited. And every single one of them said they liked to build a community. It was you get a lot of positive stuff going on when everyone can sit down over a meal. And it was just, and they combined it also with the last movie in the park too.
I think
Yeah, that was fun.
we need to just put this on the agenda because there's a lot of different things that can be done. You could have the meet and greet and fireman appreciation night from.
Well, we can talk logistics. Well, then we'll need to get it on the agenda next meeting. Right?
For discussion.
Discussion. You'd like more time and have it on the,
Well, just, until you get a date and time and what you're gonna coordinate with something else, there's nothing to discuss.
well, actually, I can't put a date unless we're gonna do it and then figure out costs. So,
How is this event different than the Easter egg hunt?
Yeah. I would think, I don't know, that it would, if the community wants to get together and do that. Either there's a little cover charge to offset, or you do potluck, or what, something different to where the city, I don't know.
oh, with potluck and COVID doesn't work and just I think in general, you just with food handling. And last year, everything, like all the snacks were individually wrapped. I made really sure that extra precautions were taken. So we can't do a potluck. As far as charging individuals, there were several families there. I would have never charged them. A lot of people. And I just, like I said, everyone kept saying how they loved the community event. They felt like the city cared. And I really think that's something that's missing in Cascade Lots. Everyone wants to feel that the city cares about them. They're important and they
I
matter.
know that the city of Portland or Gresham.
But we're not Portland or Gresham. We're not Portland or Gresham.
We have less
And
money, so we're not.
we have plenty of money. You have $10,000 in the account that's allocated. That was last year. We haven't spent that at all for last year. So I don't know how much we have left.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what the money's there for. It's there for the community to be.
But you come to
utilized
the
for-
city and ask for a grant, that way it doesn't feel like it's the city event. So you gotta come and
Right.
ask for the money as a grant, and then you take the money and go put on the event.
Right. But part of it though is community relations. It's repairing relationships. It's developing relationships. And with the city and the port, everyone's like, oh, you guys do care. I personally like to see the logo of the city of Cascade Locks and the port together on a flyer. And so,
Can I just say one thing?
yeah.
There's friction in the town. What's happening that I am seeing and feeling is that, oh yeah, okay, let's have 2,000 people come in for PCT. Let's do this and let's do that. What about the people that live here?
I get it.
Okay, I
I
know
know,
we're
I
a
get-
tourist
yeah.
town, but we have to do something to bring our own families together. And doing, someone asked me, did you go to PCT days? I go, heck, no, I didn't go to that. I'm not gonna go down to that and be in a crowd of 2,000 people. It's not me. But would I go to a barbecue? Yeah. Would I go to the amusement park? Yeah, because that's people I know. And I'll leave it at that.
Well, I'm not
It's
opposed,
very-
I myself
very personal to
personally
me.
am not opposed to any of it. So I don't know why I get like the thing, because I'm always about the dollar, or I'm opposed to children getting free candy or any of that. It's not that. And I don't like it being insinuated that I'm that, but I do have some interest as a community. And I do have concern. I get tired that I don't get to check my mail on the weekends anymore because there's no parking. So I live here too. You know, so I feel that, you know, but I also have been the person that's had to come here and ask for a grant to put different things on. I also would do things for my business for free and for fun. I never came and asked the city to help me do ice cream fund or any of those things. So it's just the way you go about doing it. And that's all it is. You gotta ask for a grant because the city, right, they can't be a conflict.
So I'm just trying to understand kind of how this works, so that the city doesn't want to be throwing these events, but people from the community can come and ask for
Yes.
funds so that they can put on this event.
Exactly.
So how do we get more community participation then to put on these sorts of events? I completely agree, and you heard me, you know, I've been interviewed for, you know, why I love this community is because of the community. You know, so events to help to foster that connection, I think are really important.
Yeah, you gotta have someone that's willing to put forth the time and effort like you guys did stuff. And I said, thing I do with the garage sale days, I mean, all that's just my time. You gotta have community members that are willing to step up to the plate, because garage sale days would have been gone like, I think 8 years ago or something, whenever the port was done doing it, because it was a port function. They were doing it. No, it was tourism or somebody, I took it from the port, is where I went down and got it. But it was gonna be done. You know, and I said, well, I don't want it to be done, because I like that community event. That's how I got to do
But
that.
most like small, like Sandy's probably bigger than this.
Yeah.
But Sandy has new, the Independence, Sandy, so many small towns, they do all sorts of community events that the city sponsors and does it and has the city name on it. And I don't think this is an event where we're not asking for $10,000. You know, we're asking for 1,000 to 1,500.
And no one's saying that you
And
can't.
then the court matches them.
Yeah.
So, and then.
Yeah, I think what you guys are hearing is that you're being, that it's no, and that's not
Well,
what
what-
you said, it's how you gotta go about getting the money.
What has happened is that before the Lions Club used to do all these events, the
Yeah,
circular days and
Yeah.
the community events.
Yeah,
That takes volunteers, and what we don't have is volunteers anymore. And so these things are falling by the wayside. We only have 2 churches left in town. But I had a talk with Todd this last week, and we're gonna have our joint Easter Sunday service again. And hopefully he's got the pavilion for us. And there's no wedding, hopefully there's no wedding on Easter. And, but we will have an Easter service, and we have serve a brunch afterwards. Right there.
So a lot of organizations, like the Business Association used to do things, and
Well,
the
we
Chambers
just
of
don't have
Commerce,
that
which
right
we
now.
don't have, to do things. And the churches, which again, we have to do all these things. The school was a big community event and built a lot of community. We have a school, but it's K-5.
yeah.
So a lot of the organizations that were involved with bringing the community together don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
The port's integral to it because we all meet down at Green Park, and that's their port, their park. And so that's why they're involved with it all the time, because we're gonna be renting their space, being asking them to donate space, whatever. But again, the city's here to provide the infrastructure that allows you to drink water,
But I also think the city's here to be an advocate for the residents and to be actively involved, you know, in community in a positive manner. Not just about utilities and,
But
things like
that's
that,
the way
so.
cities are involved in a positive manner, providing the,
right,
you know, the best services we can get so that all these other
Absolutely.
organizations.
And we should be using our money to get things like the radar traffic trailers to provide safety for people, not giving them candy. That's what Halloween's for.
Thank you all, this has been fun.
I enjoy it.
So I
I
guess
think
short
we
of it, I
I
mean,
think we're done.
I think it's just asking for the money. That's what I would take for it, is just asking for Kevin and asking the council for money.
so, all right, well, I think we're gonna table this right now out of respect for, it's getting late and it's Valentine's Day and I'm sure everyone wants to get home, so.
I move that we adjourn.
Yeah.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's do it. Yeah. Where was that taken from? That's just, that makes me feel ill. That's so scary.
When the fire was going, you could.
And you could hear it. We would sit in my sister's driveway and we could hear the